The Zone, a surreal play-to-lose horror RPG for a group or for a solo player. That's right. You can also play it as co-op if you want. This game reminds me of a really cool journaling game that is boosted by the use of cards and a really cool roll chart booklet. And today, my friends, we're going to be talking all about this thing. So let's break it down. Well, hi, hello, everybody. My name is Turk. Welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here, we do all different kinds of solo RPG things, but that's right. Today, we're talking about The Zone. This game is epic. This thing is so cool. I had so much fun playing this dang game, and I'm really happy that you clicked on this video to join me in this here dang old experience, because, yeah, we're going to talk all about it today. But first, I do want to give a big shout out to Raf D'Amico for sending this thing over to me, sending me a review copy to be able to cover on the dang old channel. Honestly, blown away by it so far. It's just fantastic. Just know I'm going to be gushing about this game in pretty much this whole video, so strap in for that. And I do want to say, if you want it for yourself, there will be a convenience link down in the description for you to use. And big shout out to our channel members and Ko-Fi supporters. Because of you guys, we get to remain authentic and say whatever the heck we want about whatever the heck we want right here on the channel. Just look, you guys, you rock. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Now, what's on the rocket docket for today, you say there, Turkey? Well, today, my friends, we're going to talk about The Zone, okay? I want to tell you what it is. We're going to do a little bit of a review section of this game, and then we're going to do a how to play and actual play of it afterwards, because there are some cards in here that might give a little bit of spoilers, and if you want to go into this game having zero knowledge about it, we're going to put the review section at the front just for you, okay? Now, what is The Zone? First of all, this right here is a game about mutating your characters. It's a game about crazy imagination, thinking about whatever the heck you want, and having your imagination boosted by all of the awesome cards that come with this game, and a whole book of mutations full of random roll charts. This thing is a treasure, okay? If you get one thing out of this game, it would be this awesome mutation roll chart, okay? Roll chart booklet. It not only includes roll charts for, look, locations of the body, right here. If you are playing a different game and you want to know where your arrow hits the opponent, you could use this roll chart. This book is very handy dandy, not only for this here game, okay? And I want to say here at the top, this is a premium game set at a premium price point, okay? But there is a digital version you can play, I think, on their website. I haven't played it myself, but from my readings, it looks like it might be a free quick start to play digitally. Also, there's a digital version you can play, and you can get just the PDFs, I think, for $20. So if you want a PDF of this mutation roll chart as well as PDFs of everything else, you can get it, all right? But the physical copy of this thing is going to run you a little pricey. But that being said, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the review section. Okay, continuing on what it is. You're going to be mutating your characters with crazy different kinds of mutations. This game is kind of like an apocalypse game in a way, and you guys know how much I love apocalypse games, okay? The world is slowly coming to an end, and an area in the world has opened up called the Zone that has been blocked off, and your characters are going to be entering into the zone and trying to get to the center to be able to have their greatest wish granted, all right? And whoever makes it to the center gets the greatest wish granted. Everyone else is going to mutate and die along the way in crazy, spectacular ways. And the game focuses on those characters' said obsessions and phobias. And phobias kind of range from not wanting to be left behind to not getting contaminated by the zone to, you know, all different kinds of stuff. There's a whole set of cards that'll help boost your character creation process, so you don't have to come up with these phobias or obsessions on your own. It's very cool. And you'll be playing a character archetype, much like this one here. You'll see why I'm showing this one off at the end of the video, but this is the athlete, all right? And the athlete's art is fantastic. These are holographic cards. You can see everything about the athlete on the back side, okay? And there are 24 character archetype cards from my playthrough, all right? And I said it in the intro, but this game really reminds me of a solo journaling game that is boosted by roll charts and cards. So you're going to be writing down what's happening or vlogging or talking about what's happening in your game as you're going through it. You're going to be using your imagination just to kind of work things out. This is not a roll to deal damage game, right? You will not be doing that. There are not stats like that, okay? It's all about emotions and thinking about stuff and figuring stuff out and using your creativity. And a lot of times I struggle with journaling games, but this one has so much included with it that I really kind of enjoyed the experience experience altogether. Maybe it's because I just love cards as much as I do, but it was fantastic. Okay, that's what the game is. Now, a little bit of a review here. First of all, yes, premium price for premium game. Does it live up to premium product? Yes, I think it does. All of the cards included in this are just, they are high quality, fantastic, holographic, fully illustrated cards, okay? They are a treat. I like them so much. I was just showing them to my friends and people at work, just like, check out these amazing illustrated cards. The art in this is so good and so immersive and really gets your brain going, all right? And they're all really nice cardstock, fully holographic cards. Not only the character cards, but also the other cards. They're all fully holographic on the front side of them. They're all fantastic. There is a lot of cards included in this box set, okay? Backsides, all right? Still glossy, but have all the information about them on them, okay? I know everything is a mess. I just finished my actual play of it. Don't worry about it. The books, the same thing. I want to show you the first page of the book. Fully arted page here, okay? Welcome operative to the zone. Look at this amazing art piece, all right? The books, all three of them, there are three that are included. They are all soft cover, okay? They are not hardcover books. They are soft cover. Comes with 3 books. Now, at that such high of a price point, you're going to want to get more than one play out of this game, and I think you absolutely can. Not only are there thousands of options of how your game is going to go and how it's going to end, and what characters you're going to play and what combinations of phobias and obsessions you're going to have on those said characters to make them different every time. But also, there is a book of twists that is included in this game that comes with different ways to play this game. There are, I think, 15 different twists that have different mechanics and things that will happen in your game while you're playing them, and it's very, very cool. It's for advanced players. It's not something you're not gonna mess with a twist book your first time around, but your second and third time, because you're gonna want to play this one once, because I will be, you're going to get a lot more than just one single play out of this. This isn't going to be a thing that you buy and sits and collects dust on your shelf game, okay? This is one that you're going to bust out at game night every week, probably for a few months, I would say. At least every other week at your game night, okay? And for us solo players, people that aren't playing with a group, same kind of deal here, all right? Whenever you're looking for a card board game to take a break from your narrative-heavy Dragonbane game that you're playing, this is it, okay? It's so great. Now, do I have any gripes about anything? When I was messing with the book of mutations, you'll see in the actual play, I actually had to read it a couple times just to see exactly how it works. But the way that it's set up is kind of just open for you. It's like, use it however you want, right? And I didn't really realize that. I thought there was a little bit more to it, but it's like, if you think your character should mutate of the mind, do that. If you think they should mutate of the body, do that. You know what I mean? I thought maybe there was a structure to it. And I think there could be in the twist book, but I was kind of like, I wish there was a little bit more structure to the mutations, but it's just open-ended, just like everything else in this game, which kind of brings me to my only gripe with this. This is a journaling game, so you're gonna have to think about stuff as you're going through it, right? And you might get that creative exhaustion right after your first go through of it, especially while you're still learning the game. I believe the second and third time you play through it, the creative exhaustion really won't be there, especially once you start to develop your own world inside the zone, because that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna start talking about stuff and developing stuff about this world, and then your second and third run through of the game potentially are follow-up characters that might find pieces of the old characters left behind, right? And you're going to continue to develop out and discover this world that your characters are in, like your own little world building session of the zone, if that makes any sense. So your creative exhaustion, you might get it a little bit the first time, but then once you understand it and you're getting it, you're going through it, it's going to be great. But I think I have the creative exhaustion gripe about all solo journaling games. If you guys know me, that's just kind of the way that I am. Anyways, that's really my only gripe on this. This is my table after I finished the actual play, just so you know. Is looking fun. So, needless to say, I had a blast with it. What we're going to do right now is I'm actually going to send you over to previous past me, who's actually going to be playing through this thing and showing off everything that comes inside of it and teaching you how to play, all right? And then after I teach you how to do the setup, we're going to do the actual play. So if you want to learn how this game is put together, you can watch that. And then if you don't want to see any spoilers, you don't have to watch the actual play section. Or if I was you, I would watch through until we start getting towards the end, and then I'd maybe skip past that, right? Because maybe you want to keep the final zone card as a mystery for yourself, all right? If you want to. Cool. Today's been a treat. So thanks again, Raph. Back to the other guy. here we are at the top-down camera. Yes, we're gonna open up the zone. And just first of all, look at this dang box, dude. It is sick. The artwork on this is fantastic. It says 2 to 4 hours. We got 1 to 6 players, 17 and up. Yeah, good that it's 17 and up. Mutate your friends. Play in the dark. Yeah, that's one thing I did want to say about this is that most of these cards literally like glow in the dark, which maybe we could test a little bit today. We'll see. But yeah, fantastic box art. Fantastic box. This is a premium little set here. Let's open her up. Sha. Cool. This thing comes with 3 little booklets. The manual, which is the main one we're going to be dealing with today, but we also have our mutations. Yes, and we have our book of twists. And the artwork on the twist is crazy, dude. Cool. So we have our 3 little books here. It also comes with stickers, which is fantastic because I'm going to be writing all about this dang game in my solo RPG, my games of the year that I've played so far. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to go on one of these dang pages right here. So I'm happy that it came with some stickers. Yeah, cool. So I'm actually just going to slide these in here real quick. Now that you guys have seen them, it's fantastic. All right, we've got 4 little sets of cards here, and these ones, they're so nice and premium, dude. They're so cool. I'm going to split it in half for us. Look at these cards, dude. I even turned down my lights a little bit, my table cam light, just so you can see how amazing the holographic art is on these cards. And it's just one-sided, so the back sides are matte or a little glossy, but they aren't holographic, but they have all the details about the characters. And I'm just so blown away by this. I've even just been like, I had the book out at work and I've just been showing my friends, like, look at how cool these cards are. They're so fantastic. Okay, we aren't going to go through all of them, but yeah. Okay, we've also got our fake cards. We've got these cards here, and we've got our scene card. I'm going to go ahead and set that to the side because we're going to need space to be able to play this game. Hopefully I have enough space here. We'll see. Okay, we're mostly going to be reading from the manual today, and I think as I said at the top, I'm going to teach you guys how to play this thing, and then we're going to run through a little solo scenario because this game is soloable, which is fantastic. So we're mostly going to be reading from this, but the twists book actually, after you play through one game of this, the twist book actually introduces new mechanics to each game that you play, and it includes a bunch of different twists in here. It looks like 15 or so, so each twist is going to introduce a new aspect of the game, so this game has even more replayability than just the millions of different options that you could run into while playing this game. You could also start playing with twists, all right? Which makes this game even more valuable. But we won't be dealing with a twist book today, all right? That's kind of like for advanced players once you get in there. Additionally, this game has a little book of mutations. They're kind of like roll charts for you to roll on and think about things when your characters mutate. If you don't have anything on your mind, this is going to give you some inspiration, which is fantastic. Okay, we're opening up our manual book now. We have our move reference right there, which is important. We'll be dealing with that. Look at this fantastic art, everybody. Look, I'm going to be gushing about this game through this whole video. Just know that, okay? This is a premium book, premium game. It's got a premium price on it, but holy crap, it's so fantastic. Crazy. Okay. Welcome, Operative. The Zone is a game where you'll tell a weird, magical realist story of mutation and self-discovery. A story about people who risk everything for an obsession, where only one character will make it to the end. That's right. So characters are going to die in this story. It's kind of a part of it. This experience is for players who want to share the spotlight, supported by decks of cards that mutate into fresh combinations of scenes, locations, and characters every time you pull them out of the box. May your expeditions be weird, wonderful, and most of all, redacted. Now we have a full list of cards here. We've got our archetypes, motivations, call signs, etc. Right? We've got all of our lists of cards right here. And then it does go through how to set up the game a little bit. And it does explain that there is no game master. There's just basically a facilitator who kind of teaches the game to everybody in a sense. But also we can see here at the bottom, for solo play, go to page 51, which we will do later, but we've got to go through character creation first. So we're going to do that first. All right. But it is kind of fun because the whole beginning section kind of teaches you about how to better host the zone. And it actually tells you to play with the lights off to get like some LED strips and, you know what I mean, some candles, and play like in the dark, like to set the vibe. And it also talks about music and other kinds of stuff. And for tips and playlist recommendations for music, they've got a little scratch and sniff right here. Smells like radiation. To go to thezone.com/atmosphere to be able to check that out. And I think that's fantastic. I love whenever books include that stuff. Now it talks about setting up the game, and this is kind of what your table is going to need to look like, just like that. But it actually has 4 different kinds of location cards you'll be going through. It has outskirts of like wilderness. It has metro, which is a modern city. Indoors, which basically means like you're in this one crazy huge mansion you got to go through, which I think is fun. And it has the cosmic for taking the expedition into space, which is kind of crazy. And all these locations immediately remind me of like what I want the Division to be. If you guys are familiar with the Division, there's the dark dark zone, and I wish it was more like this, like with mutations and crazy stuff. Like if there was a video game that was The Division meets The Zone, I would be all over it, dude, in like an instant. I love apocalypse games, as all of you guys know. I'm trying to cover more of them on the channel, and The Zone definitely falls into that category. So for our game today, we're going to be playing in the metro section. We're going to do the outskirts of a modern city is what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to go through and get all this set up, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. And I guess I should show you guys here, these cards here, as you can see, location, the forest, but it says outskirts down there. So each one of these cards has a main location and then what category they're in. So when you're going through, you could find your category like I'm going to do now, metro, right here. And then I'm going to set out all the metro cards and I'm going to decide which ones I want to use. Okay, I've got all my metro cards and I've got them like this. And in setup, we only need 6 metro cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, since we're playing solo, I'm going to shuffle these bad boys and pick all 6 of them randomly. Okay, so it's all a little holographic and you know, beautiful looking, but I've got it set up the way that the game wants you to. As you can see here, you set it up this way, right? We've got our scene cards, our not so easy cards, and this is the path that we're going to take to the end, the special center. This is the zone. We're gonna get into this little area. Wow, the cards look crazy on camera. The holographic from the light, just very cool. It's awesome. The premium cards, you guys, I'm telling you. Now, after we've done this, we're going to keep everything else in front of us, all right? Our archetype cards, motivations, and call signs, and we're going to keep these next to us as well as our fate cards and our in-game cards, but we're playing solo, so we don't actually need the in-game cards, and you'll learn about that as you read through this bad boy. Now, this book has you go through like some icebreakers, and it's structured really fun for gameplay in a group. It actually tells you to pass the book around as you read, so one person isn't reading through all of this, and it also doesn't expect all the players to read this before your game. It's like, we're going to be reading this together before we play, and it actually has fun little arrows showing you where to pass to each person and everything else like that. Now, for the sake of everything, I do want to read through a little bit of it to set the vibe for you guys, all right? Those of you guys who are just here to watch and watch some really cool gameplay of this awesome friggin' game. Let's do it. And we will set the vibe as well once we start playing. I'll see if I can, depending with lights and stuff. We'll see how it goes. All right. Welcome, volunteers. I know you've all been wondering what the zone really is, and if the rumors are true, as the 14th expedition, you deserve to know what we know. It's not much. It all started with the anomalies, locals calling in to talk, radio, or visiting their doctors with stories of unseasonal weather, impossible objects, half sightings of unknown creatures, and claimed conversations with their long-dead loved ones. People disappeared. Medical notes describe bodies that started changing. We initiated special containment procedures, performed tests on those who refused to evacuate. Then, as if reacting to our attention, the boundary appeared and isolated everything and everyone within an area of several square miles. We don't know if there are survivors inside, or if they're even still human. But since that moment, not a single expedition has returned. All lose contact minutes after leaving visual range, so we're going on fragments, rumors, dreams, and the occasional anomalies that seep beyond the boundary. We don't know what the zone wants, or if it wants. It seems to be a mirror that manifests whenever phobias and obsessions you bring inside. We all know why you're really here. The rumors that the zone can grant your deepest wish, if it deems you worthy. Perhaps it will. Sensor readings point to something incredibly powerful at its center. We think the only way out of the zone is to make it all the way to its heart. Maybe there you'll find what you're looking for. You are Expedition 14. You are the 14th expedition. You almost certainly will not return. Good hunting, but prepare to die. The Federal Bureau of Coherence, without admitting liability, thanks to you for accepting this mission. End of briefing. Very cool stuff. I'm obsessed with apocalypse games and stuff like this. So this is a very, very, very good game, cool game for me, all right? Now, it talks about how this is a collaborative storytelling game, right? We will win by playing to lose. We take turns as the director. We're telling a movie together. Some fun rules here that go through how to play with a group and everything else like that. Just some fun tips. So whenever you play with your friends, you can pass the book around and all learn a little bit of how to play this good together. We also have an in-game mechanic called the X card, which you can see right here. So if anything ever comes up in your game, because this game is about phobias and other kinds of stuff, if anything ever comes up that's too extreme for people, it's actually a rule where you can point to the X card and it talks about doing something a different way. Let's try a different way. You flip the card over, you do something else, right? Kind of fun stuff. It also has rules, a really fun rule actually for an exercise for rating your quote unquote movie. You have everyone close their eyes and put their head down, and everyone holds up their thumbs for how comfortable they are to go all the way up from PG all the way to rated R, and then the facilitator takes the lowest, and that's what the whole group does. And I think that that's fun. But I think just talking to everybody, letting them know what they're getting into, you make sure they're comfortable with it, you know, because, and I should say as a disclaimer, right, this video is going to have some crazy bits in it, however crazy my imagination gets. Usually we stay pretty wild around here, pretty lighthearted, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, then we have our observation of everything. everything. So this is supposed to be Act 1. We get to a campfire where we take a break, and then this is Act 2. And basically in Act 2, all the characters start to die. And there's a fun mechanic in it, actually, that if you're playing in a group and your character dies, you still get to like facilitate a little bit and help guide things. You basically become the anomalies and the NPCs and the other things that the players will run into. So there is actually some fun bits to this game. And I think some players are actually going to enjoy being the environment, the way that it's set up. So you might want to die earlier on. Could just be fun. All right, so let's talk about our characters. We're going to build up some characters here. And it does say for solo play, if we go towards the back, it actually suggests that you make, I think it says 3 characters for this. So that's what we're going to do. Let me double check. Goodness, look at this art right here. This is crazy looking, dude. So cool. It reminds me a little bit of like The Last of Us meets Stranger Things a little bit, I think. I just wish The Last of Us and The Division would like be one thing. That'd be so much fun. Okay, solo play. Here we go. 3 characters are the sweet spot for a solo game. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to grab our archetype cards. These are the cool ones with the fantastic looking art on them. All right. And I think, we'll count them. I think there might be a total of 20. Let's see. There's 24. Yo, pilot, so crazy. Now, I plan to play this more than once. I'm definitely going to play this with my partner, right? We're going to play this together. And I'm going to play by myself more than once here. I'm probably not going to make more than one video on it, but unless you guys really want to, make sure to leave a like. If it gets, all right, like goal, 200 likes, and I'll make more gameplay videos of this. But what I'm going to do today to decide on my archetype is I'm not just going to pick, I'm actually going to shuffle, right? And then pick them randomly. I think that'd be fun. But I think there's actually some more rules to this. Yeah, it says each player chooses an archetype to play. If the options in their hand don't resonate, so everyone gets 2 archetype cards. You deal them out. It's like to the whole group. Everyone gets 2 and you pick one of the 2. It's kind of the way that it goes. And I think that's fun. But if they don't resonate, they can choose again, basically draw again. But for us, we're just going to pick 3 random archetype cards. So I'm going to shuffle them and then we'll do that. Some of the artwork on these cards is just insane. I think the athlete has to be one of my favorites. I mean, for obvious reasons. So cool. It's just a premium game right here, you guys. This is just like, it's incredible. It's not easy to shuffle these bad boys. Okay, from the top, we are going to play the athlete. That's fun. We got the athlete, the engineer, and the artist. These are going to be our 3 characters. And then I'm going to put the rest back in the box. But here's the art of these, just so you can see. The artist's crazy, dude. The engineer, so cool. Okay, and then we do the same thing with these cards here. These are motivation cards. And on the back sides, we actually have obsessions, right? So we're going to shuffle up, and then we're going to deal. So it says in the book, if you're doing it with players, each player gets 5 options, and they choose 1 of each, front and back. But for us, we're just going to shuffle up and just do 2 for each character, just to get a weird, fun combination. We're going to see how it goes. And if there's any of them I don't like, I will repick. Fair enough. I am a little bit running out of room, so let's make some adjustments as well. We're going to put these guys up here. And you know what? Let's do another thing. I was going to put it on the green screen, but once we go dark, it's going to be impossible. So that'll do it then. So we're going to shuffle 3. First, we'll do the athlete. The athlete is going to get motivation of sights, and obsession is to live forever. And then at the bottom, you can see there's also a upside down. There's a phobia that they have. So sights and obsession, and I'm going to set it here like this. Blaze trails. I don't know what that is. We're going to skip. The engineer is going to get attachment and to get samples. The only way to stop this stuff is to understand it. So they're actually trying to help. And then the artist is to do no harm and escape this pathetic body. Become the next life form. So interesting, dude. Okay, now finally, we're going to deal each player a random call sign to complete their character. These will be explained later on page 37. Very good. It's going to do random call signs. These are the call signs, and they've got, I think it goes A to F. We're going to shuffle them the same. Here we go. We've got D for the athlete, we've got B for the engineer, and we've got E for the artist. Friggin' cool. Let's see if I can organize this better. I need a bigger table. We'll get there one day, folks. Here's what we're going to do. So we're not going to need the X card. I just wanted to bring it out for an example. And I did want to say that these little cards actually have a really cool texture on them. So they're not like flat. They're a little bit like textury, you know? They're really cool, really premium kind of cards. So I'm going to put that away, and we're going to move this over there. Okay, that'll do us a little bit better. These cards are crazy, dude. All right. So before we move on, though, I do want to see, so on the back of each one of these cards, it has like their personality and like what they got going on. So the artist or the athlete here is muscle and brawn. You're a pro sports player at the top of your game. Your body is a temple, quite divine, but a punishing schedule, strict diets, and constant travel have left you with little time or energy. And you can already feel your next generation breathing down your neck. What will you do to stay at the top? Mind over matter, teamwork makes the dream work, and high performance under pressure. Very cool. The engineers never stop innovating. By day, you design surgical robots for medical equipment company. By night, you put your hardware skills to more an unorthodox use. purpose. You've been working on something secret, something big, something that's going to revolutionize the way humans and machines relate to one another. Reason trumps feelings. Technology will save us, and I can fix that. The engineer. Oh, there's little numbers on this. Can you see that in the holographic? That's crazy. Very cool. Kind of self-explanatory, these character archetypes so far. The artist sees with unfettered eyes. Your visions of unruly alien worlds have won you obsessive fans and obscure awards, but little material gain. You wouldn't accept it anyway. Your life has been a struggle, but you've never sold out, and you've never compromised your vision. You've always seen what others couldn't. They must be truly desperate to send you on this mission. Understand through sketching, see what's under the surface, and open yourself to experience it. Cool. I wonder which one of these characters is going to survive to the end. Oh, I don't know. Okay, next page in the booklet, we're talking about backstories, right? We pass the book around. Each player picks one of these questions to ask the group. Any player may answer it, even multiple answers if they feel inspired. So kind of a way to bond your group together or bond your character, give your character a little bit more backstory. I think that's fun. Absolutely something you should do if you're in a group, right? Even playing solo is going to help you out a lot. Like a little bit of role play in the scenes, you know? Could be fun. We've got some more group building stuff, and then we have a full practice explanation scene about kind of the way that the game works, but we're going to be doing that today, so have no fear. Now we have our key moves, and this is kind of the structure of the game a little bit. You take stock, you say something's not right, you talk and you see if something isn't easy, and then you mutate. The goal of these moves is to help us push our characters so that they're in bad shape by the time they reach the fate card. Each move can be played by anyone at any time and builds on the previous one to create a lethal spiral of collaborative self-destruction. Aim to trigger a whole cycle of moves in each location and ideally in each scene. And then we show all players a quick summary, which we've seen at the very, very beginning, right? So take stock is adding sensory details about the environment that we're in. And when everyone has spoken, we then start collaborative storytelling. Something's not right is what you say and you describe when something is wrong. And another player says if it's worse, and then you describe how it's even worse than that. The player who triggered the move incorporates the escalation and the storytelling continues. Not so easy happens whenever someone describes their character doing something that seems hard for their character. Anyone can interrupt them and say that's not so easy. The player trying to do the hard thing restates their desired outcome, then draws a not so easy card, which we have over there. They then weave this outcome and any complication or mutations into their story. And it's kind of how you mutate by doing not so easy things. Mutating is only triggered by not so easy cards and is never lethal. Only a fate card can kill somebody. Each player controls and can veto mutations to their character. So if something happens and you're like, nah, I really don't want that to happen, you absolutely can use the X card and veto it, right? But you want to try to mutate in ways that relate to the obsessions and the phobias. Ideas, changes to your appearance, the way you communicate, your psyche, your abilities, and the senses with which you perceive the world. And if something happens, you can actually claim their fate and make it happen to another character instead. And then, how did I meet my fate? That happens on the fate cards, right? So the collaborative storytelling and stuff, this goes into more detail about each one of the moves, actually. But I think the summaries do a pretty good job, right? And it has full dialogue as to how that might go. So in take stock, someone says, let's take stock. And then someone else says, the air smells like sugar. It's sickly but familiar. And there's weird glowing lights. And someone else says, on closer inspection, the plants are all plastic. Okay, that gives me an idea. Here's what I'm thinking. Now we have details to build the full scene out, right? And in this example, Daniel was the facilitator, but we aren't playing with a facilitator. And the something's not right mechanic is actually fun because it like builds out super creepy stuff. It's so cool for collaborative. Really, really so cool. Right, we'll come back to these pages as we go through the scene. So I don't want to like completely talk about them in entirety, right? Because we're going to be referencing them while we're playing. We also have our mutation page, but let's go on ahead and move over to our solo page because this is when things start to change a little bit. Oh, this art page is just friggin' fantastic. We have full pages on how to facilitate the game. It's kind of fun. Convention page, character sheets, which they do actually have if you want to do more detailed kind of character sheet things. Instead of just using the cards, you could actually write down full things about characters, which is fun. And I think there's a character sheet from when I looked for every single class, like specifically. So solo play is very similar to playing with a group. So everything we went over, it totally works here. All right. But some people play this as a journaling game, or they play in a text file, right? Some kind of keepsake thing, or making a video like we are doing now. We set up the same. The game is regular, except we don't need the in-game cards. That's why I put those to the side. We make 3 characters, and you can choose to do the expedition backstory like I showed, but I just didn't do it. And then we set up the fate cards as you would in Fate on page 37. Okay, so that's the thing that we missed. Let's do that. Fate cards will decide which one of the people make it to the end and who will die along the way. So we can see our archetypes. Our archetypes actually land with our fate cards. As we can see, there's a big old E on that right there. So we need to pull those out. And then we have a little tutorial cards as well that are going to help us whenever we do our first fate section. But first, we need E, we need B, and we need D. Those are our 3 fate cards. The rest go back in the box. And then we're going to shuffle these up so we won't know what is what. There we go. I've completely lost track. We have 3 characters. We want them to make it to the end. So one of them is going to go here on the final spot. And then we're going to have one under mall like that. And then we're going to have one under the library like that. And our fate cards here, these are the tutorial ones, are going to go with the first fate. So I do want to mention, I mentioned it earlier, but after we do that, we also talk about what happens after our character dies. So in a group play, when a character dies, they get to start directing the scenes, right? When it's your turn, you can now focus entirely on creating weird and wonderful horrors of the zone. You can embody strange creatures, non-player characters, and do things that trigger phobias or obsession. And most of all, look for moments to escalate situations by using the something's not right and not so easy cards. So they kind of turn into like game masters, making it harder for the players who are still alive. It's kind of fun stuff. The game ends when you hit the center. The idea in this game is the final character is going to make it to the final scene right here. There's going to be like a big escalation in the final center where they get to make a wish. And all the dead players get to decide if their character's wish is worth it and if the zone will make it come true, right? And your character can also die in the fate section at the very end as well. So fun stuff. You want to make it to the center. You want to be the last one in the center. Fun. The final judgment. Once the survivor has made their wish, the judge says that might not be quite so easy and begins to take suggestions. Each player with a dead character may add one not so easy card to the judgment deck and suggest a corresponding outcome. Kind of fun stuff. But for a solo player, it's a little bit different for us, and there is rules for it. But let's start from the top here. So we went over all that stuff. Now, so the main difference in this game is that we use our key moves in a structured way more than in multiplayer. In multiplayer, everyone can kind of just do the moves whenever. For us, we do it in a structured way. And there's a little chart right here. We set up the scene, we take stock, we say something's not right. If something isn't easy for one of our characters, we say that, and then we escalate and we cut to the next scene. So in solo play, this game's going to go a lot faster, I think, but that's okay. Okay, now our end game is a little bit different as well, and we should remind ourselves that the goal of every scene is to gather a not so easy card by creating a situation worthy of a not so easy card. So we want one of our characters to do something in every one of the scenes, and then we'll pull a not so easy card for each one of them. Just like a regular game for the end game, only one of the characters will make it to the center, but with no other players to act as the zone, you will use all your gathered not so easy cards instead. Ignore the end game cards. When you get to the center, follow these instructions instead of those on the back of the cards. We define the center, right? So you do the prompts, do all the stuff, and we add details by using take stock. Then we have a flashback. We narrate a short flashback about the origins of the final survivor's obsession and how it motivates them. Then we define the character's wish and we deliver judgments. We shuffle the not so easy cards we gathered on our journey and we fan them out face down. We choose one, and that is the outcome of our wish to see if it actually comes true. And then we have an epilogue talking about the story and how it ends, right? We also have a really cool scene template right here for us solo players, so we can print this out and we can write things down on it. And that's pretty much it. That's the rules. So now we're going to get over to gameplay. This is the whole setup. So if you don't want to actually watch me play it, you just wanted to learn how to set up and how this thing works, there you have it. But now let's get over to the fun bits. So in my mind, this game does work a little bit like a journaling game, right? You're going to take these prompts and then you're going to write out in your journal if you decide to do it that way. For me, I like to say things out loud. I like to do summaries of my games in my journal, and I like to rewatch my videos and write down summaries of how things went, the characters and stuff. So I don't really write out every scene, but if you're doing it that way, it will work perfectly. Okay, and we're going to start up here the way the gameplay works, explained earlier, and we're going to go around like this till we get to the center. Just flipping cards. We're going to do prompts on each scene, right? And we're just going to talk about how it goes and how it works. So our 3 characters, the athlete, the engineer, and the artist. We could give them names. Maybe like the athlete's Antonio, the engineer is Greg, and the artist is, I think Clementine. That's what it is. Clementine, Greg, and Antonio. Those are our 3 characters. We arrive to the observation facility. Maybe our scene starts with all them like sitting around a table or something. I don't know. Let's flip our cards and let's see. The observation facility. And I believe, let's double check it, we get multiple options on every card, and we're supposed to do one of them, I think. So let's double check that. Yeah, so here in the rules, we're going to flip our card and we're going to choose one of the 3 options. So we've got like a steel place, a rustic manor, or field tents. I'm going to say we start in a hulking steel and concrete complex with many sublevels of containment chambers and accommodations for hundreds of classified personnel. And after we flip our card, we flip our scene cards. And for this one, we actually have 2. Oh, it looks like only one. For the observation facility, we have scene 1. It says right here, observation. The night before we begin, everyone shares rumors. So Antonio talks about, we'll do all 3 of these questions. Antonio talks about strange animals or plants that have been spotted. Maybe he's like, talks about how he's seen mutated rabbits out on the baseball field that didn't have legs, but like tentacles, and they were like red fleshy tentacles, and they were like crawling across the grass. What weird anomalous artifacts are people talking about? So the engineer probably says that there are, I like the idea of these crazy like crystals that have come out of the ground, and maybe there's like these weird fleshy plants that are like attract to these crystals and like grow towards them. What rumors about previous expeditions? Maybe the artist, because their motivation is to do no harm, hears that previous expeditions have been killing all of these creatures instead of trying to heal them. So the previous expeditions are going in with like machine guns and stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's fun. And so they're all sitting around a table eating food, just telling each other these fun stories. And if you're doing this, I suggest maybe do voices and other kinds of fun stuff like that. You know what I mean? I have some plans to do some stuff like that when I play with friends, because I'm absolutely going to be playing this with friends. But for now, we're going to keep it a little bit more straightforward. We're going to do like kind of like a chill, laid back actual play here. So hopefully you enjoy. All right. Now the morning comes, and all three of our heroes, I think, have been like given equipment. And I'm thinking in the mind of like the Division, you know what I mean? Like I mentioned a couple times, they've been given equipment. So they all have like guns and bandages and backpacks, you know what I mean? Just like basic, what you would imagine an expedition team to have. And they go to the boundary. And now we pick one. So we have three options here. I like the middle option. The boundary itself is invisible, but its presence is clear by its effect on the environment and creatures. It intersects. I like the idea that like there's like a line, and one side has like lush, green grass. There's probably like a chain link fence around the facility that is guarding the boundary, but in that fence area there's like nice grass and trees. Everything is like normal. And then on the other side of the boundary there's like these red weird fleshy plants that are all growing upwards and in weird directions, and it's like an exact cutoff. I also imagine that in this boundary there's like particles floating in the air, almost like in The Last of Us, you know what I mean? There's like these crazy particles like spores like floating all through the air, but maybe they're not like mushroom spores, but maybe they're more like weird magical spores, like the same colors of the crystals that we talked about earlier. And I think that that's really what's going to happen in this game, is you're just going to start building off of random ideas and going to keep building and building and building, right? So, and I think that you can see the air on this line of this boundary. Now we flip our scene card for the boundary. The expedition crosses through the boundary. What does everyone see and feel? Use take stock. Why is it not so easy to cross the boundary? Try something's not right to set up this challenge. Try to use all the key moves in this scene so everyone understands. Okay, so we already kind of did take stock with what we see, you know what I mean? Maybe we could add one more. We got the air, we got the plants. Maybe on the other side as well, the plants are sort of growing all over all the buildings, because we're in like a modern area, right? So like literally up the buildings, there's like these crazy vines that are like blood red. Cool, and then it wants us to try everything else. So why is it not so easy? I think a fun exercise too for these not so easy things, like having a dice maybe might be a good thing to do as a solo player, because you can decide which character might be having a hard time doing something if you can't already think of things. I want to look at the phobias though. Motivation is sights. I forgot about that. Okay, I want to be able to see those, so I move those down a little. We have obsoletes, excuse me, contamination, and skin prison. So with each one of those being said, I am going to roll a d4, a little dice here, to see which one of these. We'll go this way. So 1, 2, 3. If we get 4, we'll roll again. That is a 2. So the engineer, containment is their phobia. So maybe whenever they step out into this area and we're walking through, maybe some of the vines like wrap around their feet and they're having a hard time walking through and getting through everything. Maybe there's like just a small road and they accidentally step off of it and they're just trying to get to the first location, right? They're trying to get to the highway, as we can see here. This is the highway card. So we're trying to get there. So as we're walking, it's just hard to get through all of it. So not so easy. Let's flip our first card. So we do make it through, yes, but we have to reveal something about our past. The engineer. What does the engineer's past have going on? What's his name? Greg? His motivation is attachment. Are we thinking attached to a person or maybe an object? Technology will save us, huh? So maybe an object, not a person. Maybe he has some equipment in his backpack for getting samples, and he is so attached to them, and the vines grab around his backpack, and he doesn't want to let go of his backpack. He's too attached to all of his equipment. So the other two come over and cut away the vines to help him escape, but we learn that he's like super attached to all his equipment. Maybe it's really rare. He worked really hard on it for a long time. Yeah, I think I'm cool with that. Try something's not right to set up this challenge. I didn't read that part. So something's not right. The vines are moving. That definitely would have been what it is. See how quickly this is kind of going? I think in a group setting, you're all going to be adding things to it and thinking together. Big time collaborative storytelling. But as a solo player, you could probably get through a session of this in an hour. That's what I'm assuming. And I want to remind you guys who are watching this about the twists book, okay? Whenever you play through it once, you're going to pull up some twists, and each one of these twists has crazy extra bits and goals and things that are happening to the world, and it even has mechanics for what's different in play, and it also has roll charts and everything else. This twist book is a gold mine for this game. It is fantastic. You even do different little bits of setups for each twist, so it literally makes things different. Fantastic stuff, this book. Okay, we got a yes but, which means we can leave it there because we're keeping all these cards. I'm actually going to flip them the other way so we don't remember what it is. We're keeping all the not so easy cards for our ending bit, remember? Okay, now we finally make it through all the crazy vines, and our characters are going to arrive at the highway and slip our highway card. And we pick one of three. And if you can't decide, again, pull out your dice, your D4, roll one. I think we're just going to go with the middle one right here. So we arrive to a freeway that cuts through living community, leaving irregular lots, life besieged by an asphalt river so wide that you can barely see the other banks, just like a huge highway. And then we'll take stock, right? We're building out our scene. There's going to be a bunch of cars, just empty cars lining this highway. I wonder if we should take stock before we pull our scene card or after. I guess we'll do it this way, and then we'll do it the other way next time. So dozens of cars that have been abandoned. And I think there's going to be a bunch of, I don't know how long it's been since this thing happened. Skeletons half rotting away. So additionally, it's going to smell like rotting flesh from all the bodies left in the cars, from people who just miraculously died here in the zone for whatever reason. So that's three things. Now we're going to flip our scene card. You meet a creature that shares someone's obsession. Whose obsession does this creature seem to share? Is it real? How do we find out if it's real? Oh, that's a cool card. Okay, where's our dice? There it is. We have our D4. I like D4 shaped like this. You guys might not be familiar with these, but this is my favorite. So we have our three characters, our three obsessions. Let's see. That is a 1. So this creature wants to live forever. What is this creature? We can just get absolutely wild. We have 3 things that we've added to the scene, right? The smell, everything else. Maybe as we're walking along the highway, the smell gets worse. And as it comes to like almost where we can't bear it, some of these bodies on the highway and the cars combine together and grow into this giant maw of just like, I mean, the teeth are like cars and pieces of cars, and the flesh is just like bones and rotting flesh, and this thing just forms in the center of this freeway. Is this creature real? How do we find out? First of all, we're gonna say Antonio is like, whoa, because his motivation is sights, right? He's like, whoa, this is crazy. Maybe he pulls out a little camera and he takes a picture of it. It's like, that's absolutely insane, because he wants to document everything and see all the sights, right? And the engineer wants samples of this guy, so he's gonna want to sneak up and try to get samples of this creature. But that is not so easy. So we're going to pull a not so easy card. Does he make it up to the creature to get samples of it for his attachment machine, right? We'll pull a not so easy card. No. And the zone mutates you in a way that triggers someone else's phobia. If no one else is left, it triggers yours. Someone else's phobia. Our phobias are kind of wild for this, but let's, the good time, our first mutation, let's pull out our book of mutations. So looks like we have some roll charts here. We have manifestation, communication, sensorism, authority, and psyche, or draw on the D100's mutation compendium starting on page 15. Oh, manifestation. And then we have all of these words. This is so cool. Our body parts. Yo, what the heck? This is a very cool book. Sorry, I haven't read through this yet. Living, non-living. So you can make creatures. So we just came up with a car, giant car, fleshy maw. We could have rolled on one instead. Oh, whoa. I'm going to use this book for so much more than just this game. This is, are you kidding me? I love me a good roll chart. This has fauna, flora. This is a D100 for living materials. Then we have non-living materials, which has lies. It just says cake. You fucking kidding me? That's so funny, dude. Oh my God, what a good joke. My guy, good job including that. Then we have communication. The zone communicates the way you communicate, and perhaps who or what you can talk to. Humans are far from the only ones worth speaking with. Yo, this is a beautiful book. The zone changes the way you sense the world. Close your eyes and touch the book to pick a sense, or do a D6 for outcome, and do a D6 for outcome. This is fantastic, you guys. Mutation compendium. Okay, so we're going to just roll on this D100 chart just for the sake of time, because we're going to be doing it a lot. And there's some cool stuff in here. So let's roll on this D100 chart. Oops. And I hope people who pick up this game have a D100 sitting around somewhere. Chances are, I guess we'll see. Here we go. Mutation compendium. So what happens to Greg Our first mutation is a 65. This is so cool. Melt. Greg gets melt. Whenever you sweat, it's now highly molecular acid that causes anything that comes in contact with it to slowly be digested rapidly and sizzle away. What lengths do you go to avoid sweating? I'm also imagining that as he's sweating down his face, you know what I mean? Maybe from like a helmet he might have on that the people gave him, you can see his skin is like where he is sweating is also starting to burn away a little bit. And like you can see his underling flesh. And now his face just has these lines all the way down it. And I'm assuming that Antonio sees it because he takes the picture and then he looks over and sees Greg and he's like, dude, your face. And he goes, huh? And he touches his fingers and his fingers start to burn. And he's like, crap. So he's going to start walking way more slowly. He's going to try not to sweat. He takes the helmet off. He's going to take like probably the vest off that he had on. And he's just going to be shirtless with just like the backpack on to stop himself from sweating. And so now he's just shirtless. And then I think at this point, we're going to just move away from this thing. There's another one called photogenic, which would have fit perfectly into our scene. I don't think we're going to roll a 61, so I'll just read it. But it's when I was looking through, it's what I was immediately thinking because Antonio just took a picture. But your face/bodily feature, which remember, we have that roll chart over here so we could roll for it. Manifestation. I do kind of want to roll on this anyway. All right, anyways, let me read this. Becomes incredibly photogenic, capturing the attention and admiration of all those who see it. However, every time it is photographed, it transforms further into a flower/animal/monster. Still very photogenic, mind you, but a lot less human. What drives you to keep taking selfies? Oh man, that's so funny. Okay, I want to roll on this chart too, just to see exactly what, it's a D66, exactly what everyone sees happen to Greg first. I know I explained it just on his face, but I actually want to roll on it. Here we go. So what does everyone see first? That's a 34. His legs. Oh, my man was wearing shorts. And then we already did melted over here at the bottom. Sauced, made liquid, thawed. How thick is this form? His legs. So his skin is melting away, right? Because it's acid. So we can just see his legs are like that red viney color, as well as the Lansdowne's face. Cool. And that's what Antonio notices first. Dude, your legs. Crazy. Okay, lastly, does the artist want to do anything? Their goal is to do no harm, right? And their phobia is skin prison. What if you can't escape from this broken sack of bones, guts, and ridiculous organs? I'm already assuming that Clementine is really old. She's got to be an older woman if she wants to escape her skin prison. I don't think she does any. So we're going to go ahead and move on. That was fun. That was fun. That was one single scene. That was fun. That mutation book, holy crap, is a revelation. Are you serious? Okay, we get past the crazy maw. It doesn't speak to us, which we could roll a yes or no to see if it speaks to us, because it does have teeth and it does share an obsession to live forever. There was this communication roll chart in here. I don't really understand it, to be completely honest, but I do want to write on what does the gaping maw communicate with, and then we have its mode of communication, like how does it try to talk? And this is a D20 roll. Wow, this book uses all the dice. Okay, with who or what? We got a 1. The whole expedition, so it talks to everybody. How? 8. Taste. What? So maybe the air begins to taste really sweet as it like exhales more crazy magical particles into the air. So it's communicating somehow with us. And I think that we understand it wants to live forever and it wants to be left alone. So we just scoot on past it to our next location. There's probably a lot more we can do with that, but for now, let's move on. We make it to the theater. Okay, we're gonna go with the middle one again, just because I think it makes most sense in my head. We've got a gloomy multi-complex, surfaces sticky with what you hope is just popcorn and soda. And there are muffled movie sounds that echo through its halls. So we're literally inside of it, walking through it. Maybe we have to literally get through it to get to like the backside. So I'm assuming we're taking stock again before we pull the scene card. That's fine. I think that's the way you should do it. On the outside, it must be barred off by like giant fleshy tentacles that are like in between other buildings. So we have to go through it to get to the other side to where we want to go. And as we're walking through it, that's when our scene takes place. On the inside, I actually think maybe the air is super clean on the inside for some reason. Like in here, it's almost like not from the zone. There's no magical particles in here. And maybe on the inside, maybe it's like pristine. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with it. And there's still movies being played, like as if they were on autoplay all these years later. And it still has power and there's nothing wrong with it. We find that weird. That's what my brain is thinking. So let's do that. Let's pull our scene card. We discover that we're being followed. Who or what has been on your trail? What is the higher cost losing this tail? Or let's letting it join with you. Who or what has been following us? Back to our mutation book. We get a chance to roll on that other really cool roll chart. Living or non-living. So some kind of beast that is living is following us. And I think we spot it somehow, but let's roll a D100 just to see. That's an 88. A spore creature has spotted us. So I'm right away thinking that this is a spore creature that has been taking in all of the magical spores from the outside, and that's why the inside of theater is so clean. So this spore creature is covered in these crazy crystals from the magic air because it's been eating all these crystals. Maybe that's the way that it eats it, takes it all in. So the inside air is perfect because all these years this creature has been eating all these things. And as we go on the inside, we're walking around, and then one of us hears footsteps or something, and we turn around, we got our flashlights up. What the heck? And we're just trying to find the emergency exit. We look around to get to the back, right? And we see that it's following it. Do we want to try and find it? I think if we want to find it, that would be not so easy. So maybe the artist is going to do something this time. And the artist, Clementine, is like, what was that? It hasn't attacked. Maybe it's friendly. I want to find it. So she starts looking through all the doors trying to find it. Does she find it? No. And the zone mutates you in a way that triggers someone else's obsession. If no one else is left, it triggers yours. Obsession. Get samples or live forever. Obsession. Let's see if any of these mutations. Actually, we could just use this chart here, right at the front. We're gonna use different charts every time, just because it includes so many cool ones. Where? That is a 16. 1-6. Her teeth. What the? Okay, her teeth. And then we do D66 again on this. That is a 14, 1-4, are separated, fractured, dismantled, or split. So as she's just looking around, she opens a door and all of a sudden her mouth, you could feel it cracks. Okay, so obviously, trigger warning here, cracks open, her cheeks split as all of her teeth poke out of her face. And I guess to live forever? I don't know how it would be someone else's obsession, but I imagine her the dude from Mortal Kombat. You know what I'm talking about? What the heck's his name? All of her teeth crack open and splinter into thousands of little mini teeth, and her cheeks rip open. And so now she's got one big old open mouth. What's up with me and mouths this episode? The gaping maw already? We already talked about that. How does it change with gaining samples? Maybe her teeth make her hungrier, and she now all of a sudden has a strange hunger towards the weird fleshy vines. She wants to eat them with her teeth. So in the way of getting samples, literally obsessing over it to the point of where she wants to eat it. Someone else's obsession. I think that that's fine. And that's also absolutely insane. But also, we don't find the little mushroom creature, but we make it to the exit. What is the higher cost of losing this tail or letting it join you? Well, apparently it doesn't want to join us. It's too scared. Okay. Everyone's gotten a mutation except the athlete, but now we make it to the campfire. This is our next scene, and these work a little bit differently in the game. Special. The expedition is about to enter the innermost part of the zone, which is much more dangerous. After this point, characters will start dying. But for now, you've made camp and are gathered around the fire, or equivalent. Go around and share your theories about the nature of the zone. When you are done, end the scene and move to the next location. So kind of just a little bit of a respite point. I think if you're playing with a group, now's a good time to take a break, and think about stuff, talk, go get snacks, whatever. I think for us, it's kind of the end of the day, so we're gonna be sleeping somewheres, and I think we're in a city, so maybe we've just found a house that's on the other side of this here theater, and there's still power obviously here in the zone, so we're just staying in this house that seems to be fairly clean enough to stay in. And I think everyone kind of shares their current mutations. What the hell is happening to us? This is crazy. You know what I mean? What was that weird creature with the maws and the other stuff? They kind of just share their experiences and discuss a little bit for a little while. And I think that's pretty much it. So we're going to end that. Okay, moving on. We wake up in the morning and we're heading out. I wonder if the world is different when we head out now. What is this? Oh, this chart that I rolled on to see how the creature was communicating with us is for if the zone changes the way that you communicate. So we have the way you communicate, the way that you sense the zone, and the way that you bend the zone around you. So these are all specific. This chart is just crazy. This is all specific to those mutations. So if you see here at the front, actually, I'm realizing now, manifestation, communication, sensor. So these are all specific to mutations, right? So you can go to one of those specific roll charts and roll on that, or you can do it the way I have been and just do it randomly. But also I think you could roll on this chart and then go to one of those and add it in if you wanted to. So I think maybe that's what we'll do a little bit. But I just wanted to look and see if maybe there was does the zone change the next day kind of chart? Anomaly and mutation names. That's crazy. Sir Hexton's sticky jelly. All right, moving on. We're going to go to the sewers now. Maybe we go to the sewers because it just seems like the safest way through. We're let's go down to the sewers. We're going to walk through there. I think there's some fun explanations here, but We'll just go with the top one. A disgusting, fetid labyrinth. Things that normally live here grew bigger, carving out earthen layers. There's grime and shit that fills every corner. It literally says that. Grime and shit fill every corner. Okay, so we enter down into the sewers. Maybe in this centermost part, there isn't as many magical air particle crystals. Maybe we're in like a different aspect of the world. Maybe here, down below, maybe it's really dark here. I'm thinking darkness, like some kind of magical darkness. So we're all using flashlights now. Now down here in the sewer, there's also going to be like giant holes where creatures have been walking through, like big earthworms is what I'm imagining. Like big old snakes of some kind have been eating through the ground and just like making their own tunnels. But we're going to follow the concrete tunnel, but they're like dirt tunnels going off in every path. And then as a third thing, because we're going to try to add 3 elements to every scene, right? Maybe the river of shit that runs through the center isn't brown and black anymore. Maybe now it's a bright green color. All right, now we're going to pull our scene card. Someone tries to develop a new mental or physical power by taking a big risk. Who wants power? What do you try to sacrifice to the zone in exchange for this power? So Antonio wants to live forever. He's seen how his friends have been mutating, and Antonio's like, dude, I want that, dude. You guys are, it's crazy the cool things you guys are doing. You know what? I'm going to take a risk. And the rest of the party looks at him. We're reaching like towards the end of the sewer to our exit, but he goes, you know what? Now's no time better than any. And he's going to jump into the bright green goo in the center is what he's going to do. What do you sacrifice to the zone in exchange for this power? Maybe this whole time he's got with him his baseball bat, you know? Maybe he's got that with him. And he goes, friggin' take it. He throws it into the water and then he jumps into the water himself. And he's going to mutate. And let's do a full-on mutation for Antonio. Or we could even say, well, that doesn't seem so easy. And we could actually pull a not so easy card, but I actually want him to jump into the water and then I want someone else to try and save him. So we have a chance for 2 mutations here. So let's do that. We're just going to 100% say that this goo does mutate him, but what does it mutate? Let's roll on our charts. And we'll do one of these plus another one, right? So like more detail. Let's see how it goes. That is a 6-1, which is his guts inside of his belly. What happens? That is a 21 or a 2-1 multiplied. His stomach multiplies, duplicated, bloomed, a couple, 100. His stomach inside, maybe his hearts multiply. What kind of benefit might this have? Sensorum, your perception of the world maybe? So actually I can see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 technically options. So let's roll a d6 and we'll pick from here. That's a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Authority. How you bend the world to your will. Use this table to determine the kind of manipulation you become better at. For a minor mutation, move 1 or 2 levels up the levels of control table. 2 or 3 levels for a major mutation. I'm thinking that some of these roll charts might deal with the twists. Just saying. Cool, let's roll as a d8 because that's what this is. That's a d. Here we go. That's an 8. You can command an emotion from the psyche spread. Who can you influence? Command an emotion from the psyche spread. 13 through 14. This is a crazy bit of emotion here. Choose an emotion and then apply an outcome. So we just choose randomly. What I want to do, let's roll on this piece of paper and see where it lands. We can get it flattened. I'm gonna close my eye. We'll just drop it. Drop it. What is that? Disgust. You can command disgust to something. So his stomach multiplies. He was an athlete, right? So he didn't have a big old gut, right? He's like kind of buff actually. So maybe dude gets like his stomach like gets 2 times as large, like he grows in size. And now instead of an 8-pack, he's got a 16-pack of just abs that run all the way up. But if he's commanding disgust, it has to be gross in some way. So maybe the whole second half that's stretched is like a green slime color instead. So like when he first pops out of the water, and he's like, you know, help me get out. You can only see his top half, so he looks fine. And then we're going to try to get him out of the water here. And I think we're going to call it the engineer's going to try to get him out of the water, but that's not so easy. So we're going to flip. So he can't help get him out of the water, but he's also going to mutate, creating a much more serious problem, which must be immediately dealt with. So he gets pulled into the water himself as well. That's what it is. So no, and the zone mutates you, creating a much more serious problem. So he falls into the water. And he's also going to mutate. Crazy, dude. This game is wild. Mutating the crap out of everybody. Okay, so he's already got melty skin. Let's do the roll chart again, because that seems like the quickest way to do this. The D100 chart of all of them. So we don't got to think about it too much. The other one took a lot of thinking. That's a 41. Earworm. Your ears become hosts to invasive, musical, poetic, and lyrical parasites that burrow into your brain, playing incredibly catchy songs on a loop. You can unleash them at will / uncontrollably to delight / torment those around you. So not only only now is his skin melting, there are actual worms floating outside of his ears. And he can unleash them to make other people sing and stuff. Okay, so now the artist needs to try to help them get out of the water. The nasty water. Can you do it? No, and the zone mutates you. So they also fall into the water. So the artist with the big old teeth is now going to fall into the water here. Let's see what happens to them. That is a 76. Empathy. You can now hear the thoughts of animals. The more you listen, the stronger your connection becomes through acceptance. You can even communicate and understand their needs. So this isn't a physical one. We can't even tell if anything changes. But after they all fall into the water, they're kind of all struggling. I think it's going to take them a little bit of time, and then they pull out of the water. They finally get out after a while. So they're all in there for a while and have crazy time to mutate. And as they emerge, the engineer is like singing, and he's got these worms coming out of his ears, you know? His baby, you're a firework. You know what I mean? Singing pop songs. Like, what's wrong with you? And as the athlete pulls out of the water, we can see dude is 2 feet taller now and just has straight up goo abs. And he looks down at himself and he's like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. But as he points at his abs and points at everyone else gets disgusted and starts puking. And he's like, what? And he realizes that he can command people in disgust to make them all barf themselves if he wants to. Crazy. So now everyone has at least one mutation. We got a lot of no's in here. Okay, one more card before people start dying. So we emerge from the sewers outside of the hospital. So we're going to do a modern hospital full of gleaming diagnostic machines and beeping things. They could have run any test here, any kind of experiment. And I think as we get here, I think the engineer is excited, right? The engineer is like, this is sick. This is where I want to be. We need to go in here. I need to get some equipment, you know? Could be cool. But as we emerge, what is the quality of this hospital? What does it look like? Maybe we could add in some creatures to this scene here. I immediately was thinking animals. So maybe this is a veterinarian hospital, actually. And so there was a bunch of animals in the back, and they've all now been mutated. So on the outside, there's just a bunch of mutated crazy animals with like tentacles for skin and, you know what I mean, extra ears and all other kinds of stuff. I think that that's cool. Now we're going to flip our card. Someone encounters their phobia. Whose phobia hasn't appeared yet or hasn't appeared for a while? You must face it right now. Okay, let's look. Oh, the animals. Wait, the artist can actually talk to the animals. Sick. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, skin prison, contamination, or what if you're already old news? So obsolescence is difficult for me to kind of think about. He just wants to be the center of attention, which I guess kind of came into play last time. He's like, I want a mutation. Everyone else has them. Like, I want to be relevant. So funny. So I think maybe we'll do contamination. So maybe the sky starts raining some of that green goo. It starts raining from the sky. And the engineer's like, oh no, not again. We need to get inside. So we're going to run over to the doors. Maybe whenever we get there, there's no way to really get inside, but the artist is like, hold on, I'll find a way. And so the artist is going to use their power now to try and talk to some animals to get them to open doors on the inside. Maybe there's like a monkey on the inside who's like, he's got little glasses on and he's like the monkey from Umbrella Academy. And she's like talking to him, open the door. But maybe that's not so easy. She's got to convince him. So does she convince him to open the door? No. And the zone mutates you. All right. She's doing a mental thing now. So I think this would be a mental mutation. Alrighty. So I want to roll on this emotion chart first. All right. This chart here first before we choose the emotion, which I haven't figured out a good way to be able to pick the emotion solo, but I think maybe just like whatever the character's currently going through might work for you, but mentally actually changing you, that makes sense for psyche. I was thinking about like emotional powers like other dude got with pushing disgust onto people is kind of what I was thinking, but I don't like any of these for my mental. So we're actually just going to do the regular thing. We're going to roll a D100 and that's fine. Let's do that because maybe this can actually help us get in here. We've got an 80. Forked tongue. Wow, this lady's mouth is getting fucked up. You utter every insult, curse, or gossip you utter creates a visible manifestation of hatred, oozing from your mouth as a demonic creature slithering from your pores. That relentlessly pursues your target and coats another part of your body in slippery scale. So her face is going to start looking a little bit snaky and her snake tongue comes out. So maybe she starts yelling at this monkey on the inside, like, open the door, we need to get inside. And she gets so mad that her skin changes and her tongue forks and comes out of her mouth. Crazy, but we don't get inside. Straight up. No, and so the monkey doesn't let us in. He's like, nope, you ain't getting in here at all. So even though the engineer, I think, really wants to get in there to get some samples from all the animal testing that might have been done and stuff like that, you know, what's going on with these animals, she can't make it happen. So I'm wondering if he can make it happen. So maybe he has like some kind of equipment in his backpack to be able to use to like pry open a window or something. So, and that is also not so easy. Yes. Okay. So he does have something, but the zone is also going to mutate him. So I think think whatever he uses is going to morph into his skin. So the artist, trying to remember here, has the teeth thing, can talk to animals, and now has scaly skin and a forked tongue. The engineer has earworms and melty skin. So let's see what else can happen to this dude. And I kind of just want to pick one. And I guess you don't even actually have to pick one. You could just kind of say what happens, because I think I kind of just want to do it another way and just say what happens. I think he pulls out a crowbar and then his arm just eats the crowbar, and now his arm turns into a crowbar, almost like he has a hook for a hand, but now his arm is literally the crowbar. Like he's got arm multi-tool, and he just uses his arm and he forces the window open. And we'll say he gets inside, he gets his samples, we avoid the animals and stuff, you know what I mean? But now he's got crowbar arm. Crazy. Okay, now we're getting into section where things are going to get a little bit fun. We're pulling some fate cards now. We're in the end game, folks. We're going to make it to the library. We're going to leave there. We're going to make it to the library. We're going to see who is going to die first. Okay, first let's flip the library card to see exactly what's going on here. All right, we'll do the middle one. As much community center as library. Bulky CRT monitors, a soup kitchen, leaflets for flu shots, file cabinets hold the neighborhood's story. Now I'm wondering, I think we should probably paint out the scene and do it normally before we flip the fate cards. I think that's what it says. So all the CRT monitors are flickering like crazy. All the old computer monitors, you know what I mean? Like the power is going off in here. Also, there's literal visible smell lines coming from the kitchen where that pea soup stuff was, like actual magical physical smell lines coming out of that kitchen. And then I think some of the books in here are flying around. They're like flapping around, like flying around, like magical flying books, straight up. Now, I want to double. Okay, whenever we reach a location with a fate card on it, we'll immediately flip it. Whoever has the matching call sign takes that fate and must die in that location. Okay, so we immediately flip it. So we're going to flip these fate cards. I don't want to see who it is yet. First, fate card tutorial 1. If you think your character should die, claiming fate. Instead of the one currently holding the fate card, you could say, I claim this fate. I sneeze in every video, everybody. So other characters can claim the fate instead, and you could swap call sign cards. After death, as the first person to die, get a not so easy card. After a character dies, their player continues taking turns as a director and using the moves, but are now representing the zone itself. Focus on creating weird magical stuff. Right, we read all that already. So who dies? I want to put these out here like this. So athlete, engineer, artist, DBE, like that. Athlete, engineer, artist. Who dies? E, the artist dies. E, call sign Euslid, meets their fate. Anytime before leaving this location, say, I meet my fate, to play this card. You become director and narrate how your character ends. While this is happening, others cannot use not so easy on you. Other players may ask to claim your fate at any time. So the artist is going to die in this location. How do they die? Flip a card. Something helps a character see the true potential of a mutation. Oh, goodness. What mutation in a character or around you have you only scratched the surface of? What if this mutation was 10 times stronger? So that's how the artist is going to die then, obviously. What other 3 mutations do we think could go absolutely wild? I mean, first of all, their whole body could turn into teeth and they could explode into teeth. But second of all, they're kind of turning into an animal. I mean, like literally, which is the crazy thing because their whole purpose was to escape the body that they're in, right? So they're turning into a new person slowly. They're turning into an animal, like basically a crocodile. So I'm wondering if maybe their powers get 10 times stronger in here as we step inside. And they can talk to animals, right? So maybe 10 times stronger. They're thinking all these angry thoughts, and all these angry thoughts affect, maybe there's like a bunch of rats living in this library, and it affects all these rats, and these rats all like cling to her, and she turns into like this huge rat monstrosity and just starts wrecking this library as the other 2 are like, nope, and they run out the door. They're out of there. They're like, there's no way that is happening. I'm wondering if there's a not so easy chance for either of these guys in there. Maybe it's not so easy to run out and leave, right? Maybe that's what it is. So we could flip to see if someone else mutates again in that sense, but that's how the artist is gonna die, by turning into a giant rat monstrosity of teeth and scaly skin. R.I.P. Clementine. Okay, so they're gonna run out of here. Do they just make it out super easy? Yes, but the zone reconsiders your fates. Switch to fate cards. Oh no. So they make it out, but the zone that's crazy. So we're actually gonna flip these. Oh man. That's wild. Okay. All right, next one. We make it to the mall. Yes, a palace of glass elevators, reflective walkways, boutiques, models, staring from huge billboards. So clean, the effect is kaleidoscopic. But What else could be going on here? Let's add in 3 details. Maybe the air is so clean and amazing that it almost hurts to breathe. Secondly, the lights are so bright that it's hard on the eyes. And thirdly, there's something not right. Maybe all of the mannequins seem to be moving, and it's worse than that, right? Because that's one of the mechanics. Maybe the mannequins aren't only moving, but they're following us through the mall. Who's gonna die here? D. Oh, it's the engineer. Call sign Demios meets their fate. So they're going to die somehow here. So obviously the mannequins, we're gonna walk by a hardware store and the mannequins are gonna start picking up weapons and stuff, and the mannequins are gonna start chasing us. And this whole time in my head, I've been thinking that the engineer would totally like stop, like would throw anyone under the bus so they could survive. So maybe the engineer's like, screw you, and tries to throw the athlete like back and like lock some doors. But as he locks the doors, he turns around and sees all these mannequins with all these extra like weapons, and he's like, oh crap. So he actually locked himself in somewhere bad. I don't know why, but I was just thinking Greg was a bad guy. So he's death by mannequins with hammers and axes as they just start chopping him up. I'm wondering if any of his mutations can come into play here. Maybe as his blood hits all the walls and everything, the walls start melting because of his sweat inside of his body. That's wild. So as this place begins to collapse from all of the acid blood that is just melting this place, the athlete needs to get out of here. How easy is it for the athlete to get out of here? Let's see if we can mutate him one more time. Yes, but success immediately triggers a much more serious challenge. If it's a creature, it's not their final form. All the mannequins form into one giant mannequin that we have to get past, and we make the mannequin disgust. We're like, disgust, but the mannequin doesn't have, because all that's left is the athlete, right? He has the disgust power, but the mannequin doesn't have necessarily puking capabilities. So that's not so easy. Yes, but it does get disgusted. But if you want this done, someone more suited to the task must do it. Help is needed from the other characters or from a local. A local? That really doesn't work in our situation because we're the last character alive. A local? Maybe there's one mannequin that's wearing a jersey that like Antonio is also wearing because he's on the baseball team, and he sees that mannequin and the mannequin sees him also wearing the jersey. So the mannequin's like, oh, you're cool. So the mannequin's down to help. So there's like a mannequin with an axe that like distracts the big mannequin, and Antonio's like, thanks, bro. And he like runs out the door. And I'm picturing Antonio like a, I don't know, like a sports bro. So he's like, yeah, dude. Then he runs out the door. And then we arrive to the final location. And we already know the fate card is going to be on Antonio. Okay, Special Center 1 and Special Center 2. We have the cards here. So this is the way it's going to go. I want to make sure we run this right. So we define the center. We use the prompts on the center, add detail by using take stock. Then we define the judge and group play, but for us, we don't do that. We have a flashback, and then the survivor states their wish. And we get one final judgment where we flip the cards. Let's double check here. Yeah, we define the center, we flashback, we define our wish, and we deliver judgment. So let's define the center. We flip the final card. The final survivor has made it to the legendary center of the zone. Antonio! Follow these instructions instead of pulling a scene card. First, collaboratively define the center. Pick one. Sublime, seductive, or light. Light. Vast, horrible, or void. Vast. Alien, anomalous, or physical. Anomalous. A bunch of light and a void, and it's anomalous. Or something else. And then we flip the next card. The final survivor can now ask the zone to grant their deepest wish. Before we do that, my boy needs to have a flashback. As he looks into the light, he has a flashback. A flashback of his obsession to live forever. Well, also, he sees the light, and he takes his little camera, and he's like, sick. He takes a picture of the light. I also think he's probably been taking pictures this whole time. I just forgot to mention it. So his final obsession is to live forever. He's worried about becoming obsolete. So we have a flashback of him in his younger years, hitting home runs in the baseball field, and people are taking pictures of him, and everyone loves him. And he's like, I just want to do this forever. So not only does he want to live forever, but he wants to be young forever, right? He doesn't want to get old and become obsolete. So his wish is to be young forever, obviously. It's what he wants the most. He wants to be able to play ball forever. Now we shuffle the not so easy cards. We gather around our journey, and we choose one. This is the outcome. Okay, does he get his wish to live forever? Or does his camera full of pictures stay here in the center of the zone? Here's all the cards we've drawn so far. We're just going to shuffle them up like this. And actually, we'll do one of these. There's actually been a few. That didn't work. Okay. I have no idea what is what. Does he get his wish? We'll pull this one right here. Bang. Yes, but you have to reveal something about your past. Maybe he has to lose his past. So maybe he gets to stay young forever. His wish is granted, but he loses his wisdom from playing ball for so long. He has to start over. He has to relearn how to play baseball. So his body is refreshed and renewed to be young, but he forgets all of his wisdom. So in our epilogue, the lights go way, 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 way bright, and then he wakes up outside, maybe like in the locker room, and he's young again. But as he goes out to play, he thinks he's gonna hit a home run, and he hits a strike. And he's like, oh no, I've forgotten my ways to play. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. This game is fun. I am going to talk about it more in the review section, which is going to be at the front of the video. If you've made it this far, just so you know, I usually do these top-down camera bits where I play the game before I record the intro and the review. So now you know. But before I hop back and do all that, I really just want to say again, thank you so much to developers for sending this over to me. And thank you so much to Raf D'Amico for making this amazing game. They had a whole team on this bad boy that I actually kind of want to shout out here at the end. We see here in the back pages, we've got the cover art, the interior art, and everything else. They had a whole team of writers on this thing with full-on special thanks and everything else. Raf D'Amico, you have killed this thing. It's very, very cool, Raf. And Laughing Kaiju, that's who it was. Thanks you for sending this over to me. Raf and Laughing Kaiju. This game is very, very cool, and it's such a treat to have it and own it and be able to play it with all my friends. So cool. So thanks so much to your awesome team for doing all this awesome stuff. Okay. My friends, I hope you enjoyed this actual play. If you did, let me know. If I was totally side screen content while you were having some fun as well, you know, working on some stuff, let me know. I know how these actual plays go, but truthfully, this has just been an amazing experience, and I'm happy to have been able to share it with you. So let me know what you think down in comments below. And for now, my friends, take a seat on the couch and roll for initiative, at least for a little while, or until you find yourselves stuck in the zone, mutating yourselves. Roll on that, weirdos, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, nerds.
Just like